Knee. Jai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jasodha Nandana Braja Janaranjana Ramunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Kantara Srimad Bhagvatam Ki Gaura Pramanandi All glories to the Summit devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Prananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyareva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya O Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 10, Text number 8, 7 and 8. Yo dhruve natmana nata na dharman na yasha puman iheta bhuta dhayaya sa shotya sthavarair api. Hare Krishna. Yo dhruve natmana nata na dharma na yasha puman nita bhuta dhayaya sa shotya stavarair api. Anyone else? Yo dhruve natmana nata na dharma na yasha puman iheta bhuta dayaya Natha Shotya Stavarair Api Yaha. Anyone who Adruvena impermanent Atmana by the body Natha, O Lords, not Dharman, religious principles, not Yasha, fame, Puman, a person, Iheta, endeavors for, Bhutadayaya, by mercy for the living beings. Saha, that person, Shotya, pitiable. Stavarai, by the immobile creatures. Api, even. O demigods, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation, O demigods, one who has no compassion for humanity and its suffering, and does not sacrifice his impermanent body for the higher causes of religious principles or eternal glory, is certainly pitied even by the immovable beings. Purport, in this regard, a very exalted example was set by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said in Srimad Bhagvatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 5, verse 34, Tyaktva sudustyaja surepsita ragya lakshmim dharmishta arya vachasa yadaghar aranyam mayamrigam dayitayepsitam anvadhabhad vande mahapurushate charanara. Quote, we offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. End of the quote. To accept sannyas means to commit civil suicide. But sannyas is compulsory, at least for every brahmana, every first-class human being. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very young and beautiful wife and a very affectionate mother. Indeed, the affectionate dealings of his family members were so pleasing that even the demigods could not expect such happiness at home. Nevertheless, for the deliverance of all the fallen souls of the world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and left home when he was only 24 years old. He lived a very strict life as a sannyasi, refusing all bodily comforts. Similarly, his disciples, the 6 Goswamis, were ministers who held exalted positions in society, but they also left everything to join the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srinivasacharya says, Taktva Turnamashesha Mandalapati Sri Nim Sadatu Chavat Bhutva Dina Ganesha Kao Karunaya Kopina Kantasritao. These Goswamis left their very comfortable lives as ministers, zamindars, and learned scholars and joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement just to show mercy to the fallen souls of the world. Dina Ganesha Kao Karunaya. Accepting very humble lives as mendicants, wearing no more than loincloths and torn quilts, Kopina Kanta, they lived in Vrindavan and followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order to excavate Vrindavan's lost glories. Last paragraph. Similarly, everyone else with a materially comfortable condition in this world should join the Krishna consciousness movement to elevate the fallen souls. The words Bhuta Dayaya in this verse, Mayamrigam Dayitayepsitam, and the Bhagavatam verse quoted in the purport, and Dina Ganesha Kal Kununaya, in this prayer from the Shagoswami Ashaka, all convey the same sense. These are very significant words for those interested in elevating human society to a proper understanding of life. One should join the Krishna consciousness movement following the examples of such great personalities as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis, and before them, the great sage Dadichi. Instead of wasting one's life for temporary bodily comforts, one should always be prepared to give up one's life for better causes. After all, the body will be destroyed. Therefore, one should sacrifice it for the glory of distributing religious principles throughout the world. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. So the last chapter ended with Vishnu directing the demigods to go to Didichi and ask him to give up his body so they can use his bones to create a weapon to kill Vitrasura, who is the only obstacle, albeit a large one, between their Swargaloka and themselves. They wanted to enjoy heavenly pleasures like that. Their comfortable facility that they had before, it was taken by Vitrasura. Vitrasura was an obstacle, so they wanted the obstacle removed. They prayed to Vishnu to have that obstacle removed. Vishnu directed them to go to Didichi to receive his body, so that a weapon can be created to kill Vitrasura. So in the previous verses, we heard the demigods asking Didichi, can we please have your body so we can make a weapon out of your bones to create a weapon to kill Vitrasura? Would that be all right with you? And Didichi, what are you asking? What type of question is that to ask someone? Then they said, no, we're not telling on our own behalf. Vishnu has told. Vishnu has told us to come and ask. And so Didichi's reply, who can give up their body even if Vishnu asks for it? Who could give it up? One is so attached to the body, isn't it? If Kishore says, my dear Prabhu, give up your body now, you will do it? No, you will not do. Only we feign devotion to Kishore. But if Kishore said, please give your body for me, you are prepared to do? Suppose some criminal walks in with a gun about to shoot Kishore. You will take the bullet for Kishore? Who here is ready to take a bullet for Kishore? Anyone in this room? So even if Vishnu himself asks, very difficult thing to give. You follow? So the demigods are saying, we're not asking, Vishnu is told. The Diji said, who can give up their body? Who is able to do it even if Vishnu himself asks? You follow? You ever understand? So then the verse after that, verse 6, mentioned that the demigods reply, no, you are a very magnanimous person, great soul. What will be difficult for you to give up? They told like that. That was their reply. So in response to that, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in text 6 is interesting. He says, those who are very selfish, swartha paroloke, they do not know the suffering of others. For if the beggar could understand the suffering that the giver has to go through, he would not ask the giver to give. You follow? That's very selfish. You're only thinking about yourself. He's telling like this. Yudichi is saying like this, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So then the demigods reply, same thing. Swartha paroloke. You are a very selfish person. Persons who are very selfish, they cannot understand the suffering of others. Because if the giver knew the difficulty of the beggar, he would not refuse to give if he has the ability to give. And this way they're having a discussion. You follow? Everyone understanding? Yeah, see in the Sanskrit of the verse, if you go to text number 6, it says, Nunam swartha para loko na veda para sankatam. That those who are interested only in sense gratification in this life or the next, that's how Prabhupada has it in the word to word. Swartha para loko means only interested in sense gratification in this life or the next. Does that sound like anyone you know? Interested only in sense gratification in this life or the next? Then for such persons, na veda para sankatam, they do not understand the suffering of others. It's not possible for them to appreciate or empathize for the plight of others. You follow? So then the first line, this first sentence of the verse is taken, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, as a statement of both the Dichi and the demigods. So the Dichi is saying, those who are interested in sense gratification, only sense gratification, they cannot understand the suffering of others. Therefore, their beggars are asking the giver to give something which is impossible to give. So he's criticizing the demigods of being selfish and absorbed. Then the demigods reply with the same first sentence. Those who are interested only in their sense gratification, they do not understand the suffering of others, because if the giver knew the difficulty of the beggar, he would not fail to give if he could give. And that way, debate is going on. You follow? Is everyone understanding everything? It's simple. Can you understand? What's difficult? This simple thing. Well, I just told. The Dichi is saying, like the demigods. Yeah, both sides are saying both parties are selfish. Now, finally, after this thing that the Dichi is doing was all in jest. He was being sarcastic, just to allow them to kind of exposed or evince their real desires. So the next verse, verse number 7, which doesn't have a purport, we didn't read that verse. Didichi goes on to say, just to hear from you about religious principles, I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, isn't it? Therefore, in other words, implicitly saying it's very difficult to give up because it is very dear to me. I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow. You follow? I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know it will leave me today or tomorrow. This is the same message that Prabhupada has been speaking for the last several purports. This verse, Sanimite Varam Tiago Vinashe Niyate Sati. That whatever it is that you possess, beginning with your body, and then the things that come along with that possession, will be taken away in due course of time. Everything will be destroyed. And therefore, why not use that which you possess for a better purpose with profit before it is taken away from you by force? You follow? Two options. Option number one is I don't use my possession for any higher cause, and it's taken away from me by force with no profit. In terms of spiritual profit, I'm using the word profit, spiritual profit. Or option number two, before it is taken away by the force of time factor, everything is destroyed, let me offer it for some higher purpose with profit and gain before it is taken away from me by force. You follow? This same statement of Chanakya Pandit Prabhupada quotes in the Vamandev Leela, when Shukracharya is telling Vamandev not to give the wealth to not to give the charity to, not Bali. Shukracharya is telling Bali Maharaj not to give the charity to Vamandev, right? We just had this just passed. So then Bali Maharaj refused his spiritual master's order, but he gave good argument, several arguments. One of the arguments he said is that anyway, all that I possess will be taken away by force in due course of time. And then I will have nothing in the end with no profit. But now, and that too, who is taking it away? It is Vamandev himself who is taking away, and his feature is time. Time eats away at everything. Time is compared to a Kala Sarpa, the snake of time. Understand? There's a nice picture on National Geographic of a snake's mouth like this wide, like a python, and a little cute little bird facing this way. He doesn't see he's about to get devoured. It's like a really cool image. So that's exactly what life is like. The time factor is eating away at our existence, and we're completely oblivious to it. And we're just going on with existence thinking everything is okay. And then time destroys it. You follow? So everything is about to be destroyed. Bali Maharaj is telling his spiritual master, anyway, everything will be taken away by force, by Vamandev. Vamandev in his features, time factor, will take away everything by force. And I would have gained nothing in the end. But now that same Lord has come before me in this cute dwarf form. He has come, and he's given me opportunity to give everything to him voluntarily with the chance for eternal benefit. So I'd be such a fool not to give, you follow? Since everything will anyway be taken away, better I give everything and gain eternal profit. Otherwise it will leave me, the teacher is saying, it will anyway leave me today or tomorrow, so I might as well give it up. You follow? So this intelligent person, we often mention this point, again I'll mention it, those who abandon the eternal for the temporary lose both. You become double loser. Yes, you understand. Don't become a double loser. Double loser means you fail to offer that which can get you eternal glory. You follow? Eternal glory is referred to as here, sat. that which can get you sat, eternal existence or eternal glory, you fail to offer those things which can give you that. What is that thing which can give you that? Namely, your material body, and then the things related to that material body. If you offer those things for the purpose of gaining sat, then you will get sat. You follow? But if you don't offer those things because you are attached, no, this is for me. This is for my happiness, my sense gratification, my pleasure. We are thinking like this, isn't it? Do you think your body is for others or for you? For me only, isn't it? Me only. Me only. And even if it appears to be for others, it is also for me only. And that's just an appearance. Oh, for my family, my friends, my nation. That's me only. So you think like that because of attachment to the I, me, mine principle. You don't give it for getting eternal glory, getting the eternal spiritual platform. Well, you're because of attachment to that temporary, because it's temporary, it in any way vanished on you. You understand? Then you become double loser. You lose opportunity to gain eternal glory, and for what? For that which you were attached to. But that which you were attached to is temporary, so you will also lose that in the course of time. And that way you lose twice. Double loser. You become double loser. So don't become a double loser. Message, one of the messages of this little section. So Didichi is saying the same thing. Anyway, my body will leave me today or tomorrow. So I shall offer my body for your higher cause. There's a higher cause. Instead of just keeping the body together, which will anyway perish for my own purposes, which are insignificant, small and insignificant, better I offer for your higher causes and become a winner. Two options. You can become a winner or you can become a double loser. Two options. Which one you want to become? A winner. At least we're supposed to say that we're in the middle of the Bhagvatam class. But the mind was like, double loser is not so bad. Don't worry. Don't worry. He's just mouthing off from the Vyasa-san. Let us focus on our sense gratification. So that's verse number 7. Now this verse, continuing his chiding of the demigods, he is saying here, iheta. Iheta means endeavor. To make an endeavor. So those who do not endeavor for na dharma na yasha puman. So those persons, puman means person. So that person who does not endeavor for dharma, and yasha means fame actually. So Prabhupada is translating here as religious principles and eternal glory. That's how Prabhupada is translating here. Those persons who do not endeavor for religious principles or dharma and eternal glory, by showing compassion, Bhuta means by showing compassion to suffering souls. In other words, that's the higher mission. The lower mission is using my possessions or my temporary body. Adruvena Atmana means the temporary body. Adruvena means temporary. Atmana means body. So using the temporary body, we normally use it for our own purposes, which are, how do you say, what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish. Is there a better word, though? Perhaps more eloquent. Narrow-minded, myopic. Yeah, myopic is a good word. You know what myopic is, right? Myopic is like, like when the horses are running, they put blinders on the horses so that they don't look left or right and get distracted. Did you know this? Interesting fact that's useful for our Krishna consciousness. So this is how we go on through life also. Some of our blinders are like this. And some people, the blinders are a little bit wider, but it's still a blinder. You cannot see, So we mostly live like this, myopic. So adruvena avana means we use this temporary body with this blinder on. The blinder is, of course, the ego, false ego. Some of our false ego is so heavy, it's like this. You can't see anything, actually. Some of us are a little bit more, our false ego is maybe not as intense, but still a blinder. So you use that temporary body for your own purposes. That is pitiable. Sashocha stavarayarapi. Sashocha means pitiable. It's by immovable beings, like trees and plants. But bhutadaya means for showing compassion towards other living entities. So that's the higher mission. So the two options. You can use the temporary body for the lower mission, which is according to the myopic perspective created by your false ego. Or you can use it for gaining eternal fame and religious principles by showing compassion to others. You follow? So those persons who do not endeavor for religion, for glory, through their temporary material body, by showing compassion to other living entities, then they're pitied by immovable beings. Immovable beings means like trees and plants and so on. The idea here is that trees and plants, they offer something for the benefit of society, isn't it? They offer some flowers, offer something for other living entities, like grass, for example, food for the cows, flowers for the bees, for human beings also, love life, isn't it? Valentine's Day is big industry. Valentine's Day, the flower industry is really prospered very well. So flowers are doing so much for other people. There's sense gratification, of course, in that example. So in that way, these immovable entities, they benefit society in so many ways. But there's a difference between them and us. One difference is that they don't have a choice. And another difference is that they can't move. So with us, we do have a choice and we can move. So if we don't make that choice to benefit others, we don't move, our movement isn't directed towards the benefit of others. It's directed towards our own myopic perspectives, whatever it may be, created by our false egos. Then we are pitied by even such immovable entities. You follow? 3 examples are being given in the purport: Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis, and Didichi himself. These 3 examples are being given in the purport. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, verses quoted from the Bhagavatam, his house was glorious, envied even by the Devatas, Prabhupada is saying in the purport. No one could, even the demigods envied the type of household that Lord Chaitanya was having, what to speak of us, that it can have in the material world. And he had a beautiful wife. She was the goddess of fortune. And he had a wonderful mother. Understand? Everything ideal. Ideal for sense gratification. Ideal for a comfortable life. And yet he gave up that comfortable life for spreading Krishna consciousness. You follow? Lord Chaitanya's example. 6 Goswamis' example, same point is being made. 6 Goswamis, they were all, well, most of them, they were all aristocrats, zamindars, learned scholars, etc. They also had very comfortable life. They dropped their comfortable life also, all the wealth and everything connected to that, and wore kopins. Understand? Kopins. That's it. Actually, we show kopins and maybe a little loincloth was there also, like that. That was it. They gave up all that comfortable life and wealth just for wearing kopins and loincloth. For what purpose? Also, the idea here is showing compassion towards other living entities, as well as Didichi's example, which we're hearing about right now. These are 3 examples given. So, those who do not use their temporary body to endeavor for eternal glory and religion by showing compassion to others, they're pitied by these immovable entities. These immovable entities don't have choice and they can't move. You have choice and you can move and you can gain so much benefit and still you do not do, then you're pitiful, like that is saying, pathetic. Of course, Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis, it should just be noted, that the context of their sense of compassion, of course, is the realization of Krishna consciousness. That's the context which makes the word compassion meaningful. Because if you're still affected by ignorance, and then that which follows ignorance, namely the kleshas of the material world, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesh, then one really has no context for a genuine feeling of compassion, in the sense that one is still afflicted by the same disease in which he wants to help free others from. And so it is the realization of Krishna consciousness that allows for deep, compassionate movement. So then that movement may be variegated. Lord Chaitanya's movement, when I say movement, I don't mean his Krishna consciousness movement. I mean his like walking around, his moving around. His movement for demonstrating compassion towards others came in the form of his dancing in front of people, glancing at them, embracing them, and then boom, they would get prema. Understand? That's how he was moving around. That was a very, of course, powerful way to show compassion, one in which we may not be able to do very effectively because we're not Lord Chaitanya. The Goswamis, expression of compassion came in the form. They didn't move around. They stayed in Vrindavan. They were home base. And they wrote books primarily, and as Prabhupada is saying here, they resurrected the places of Krishna's pastimes so that pilgrims who would come to that place would get an opportunity to purify themselves by association with the places of Krishna's pastimes, and also by reading the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya as they had codified it. Lord Chaitanya had just kind of spoken. He didn't write down anything. So the movement after Lord Chaitanya was without any literary foundation. So then that foundation had to be created by the 6 Goswamis. So their expression of compassion came in the form of solidifying all that Lord Chaitanya taught and demonstrating how this was the real message of the scriptures. Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipano Sat Dharma Samstapako. They scrutinizingly studied the scriptures in order to establish the eternal religious principles as given to them by Lord Chaitanya. In other words, what Lord Chaitanya taught was true, but it wasn't codified. So they had to codify it to give opportunity to the jivas who would appear after Lord Chaitanya, who may not get the benefit of just getting shocked with prema by the special glance of Lord Chaitanya, to be able to understand what is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya, what is the process they have to follow in order to achieve the particular goal of life. So they expressed their compassion, or their movement came in the form of writing literatures and establishing the places of pastimes, Krishna's pastimes. So the point is that the expressions of compassion are variegated or multifaceted. Compassion doesn't exactly have to look like one particular sort of thing. But the point is that both Lord Chaitanya and the 6 Goswamis, as well as the Dichi, the context of their compassion is the realization of the spiritual platform. They realize themselves to be different from matter. Of course, in the case of Lord Chaitanya and the Goswamis, they have prema. And so that gives the proper context for a genuine, compassionate movement. Now, using the word another way, so what if one doesn't have that? Then we are connected to a compassionate movement, namely the movement of Lord Chaitanya, as given to the world by Srila Prabhupada in this ISKCON. So in that sense, although we may lack the genuine context for real compassion on account of still being afflicted by the kleshas, beginning with ignorance, by contributing to Srila Prabhupada's movement, in our case, then we, by dint of that, contribute to the mission of compassion of Lord Chaitanya. And so, in other words, we don't have any, right now in our conditioned state, we really don't have any inherent compassion. In fact, our sense of compassion is generally just a mental construct. That's what the Bhagavatam calls as manorat, the chariot of the mind. So someone has a chariot of the mind, I'm going to be compassionate. But what is the context of your compassion if you're not realized? So our sense of compassion is usually a mental construct. And yet, because we're part of a compassionate movement, like Srila Prabhupada's movement, ISKCON, then by connecting ourselves to that, stream of mercy that they've given, then although we don't have any inherent compassion, we begin to express compassion by our contribution to the mission established by those who are compassionate, like that. And that way we begin to develop our Krishna consciousness, and then eventually, by such development, start to exhibit a genuine feeling of compassion by dint of the contrasting experience between our previous conditioning and our actual experience of Krishna consciousness. So the Dichi, 6 Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya, they express compassion for others, living entities, giving up their comfortable life. That is a higher mission than the small, myopic missions of sense gratification that we normally go after. Those who do not do so, they're pitied by immovable entities. Any questions, comments? That's the verse says like that.
Thank you. I found the discussion in the first half of the class very meaningful. Not that the second half wasn't meaningful, but the first half was very meaningful. That due to our false ego, we become myopic, and so we're not able to give what belongs to us for the sake of receiving eternal benefit. My question is that as aspiring devotees, we have this false ego that sometimes I'm thinking of like a subtle sort of giving, like we're not able to give our sense of independence, our sense of thinking ourselves better than others. We're not able to give up those things for the sake of our eternal benefit. So could you speak a little bit about how do we actually, in the Association of Devotees, cultivate, give up those kind of things? You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying, the gross things are a little easier. The subtle things, like our sense of independence, was the example you gave, is much more difficult to give up. So how do we give up those subtle things, which we feel?
Specifically of like there's something within us that blocks us from feeling ourselves to be the servants of the devotees.
That's called anartas.
Right.
So how do you give up anartas?
Those, yeah, it seems like I can't just let go of them. They're kind of like stuck on me, you know. I don't know.
Well, some anartas are easier than others. After all, conditioning, we've been conditioned for a very long time. We can hardly expect to give up everything in one shot. And so our process is not really getting bogged down by the fact that I'm not able to give up my anartas in one shot. In fact, that verse that I often like to quote, Jata Shraddha Makatasu, etc., where Krishna is speaking very encouragingly, saying that my devotee is awake in faith in my glories, Makatasu, my kata. Nirvana Sarva Karma, so he's discussed it with the material sense gratification program, even the pious one, the ones that are according to proper religious principles. Nirvana Sarva Karma so means all of them, the sinful activity and the pious activity. He's disgusted with it all. Because he sees it's all just material sense gratification. Veda Dukatmakam Kama, he knows that such activities lead to suffering. Parityage, he wants to give them up also. Api Anishwaraha, but he can't. Anishwaraha, he's not in control. Anishwara means that the force of the karmic situation is very powerful. And oftentimes we're taken by the current of such karmic flow. I often like to give the image of being at the top of Gangotri or Rishikesh. You can see the river runs very fast. So to take bath there, you have to hold on to a chain, and then you dip. And if you let go of the chain, just like this, finish. You understand? Just like this, you let go, then finish. Not even like hardly you let go, just a little bit you let go, because the current is very strong. Then immediately you're sucked under. So the current of our karmic situation is strong because we've been in the material world like for almost forever, basically. And so we can hardly expect parityage api anishvara. So Krishna says he's not in control. And therefore it's not surprising that he is jushamana chatan kaman. He is sometimes engaged in sense gratification, either gross or subtle. This is going on. So what does Krishna say? My devotees should remain happy. My devotee should remain happy and continue with faith and determination to engage in my bhajan. And even though he is sometimes engaged in sense gratification of a gross or subtle type, he sincerely repents such behavior due to the force of his karma. You know, the behavior that arises because of his lingering attachment, and continues to perform his bhajan with joyfulness, faith, and determination. So some anarthas are stronger than others. And how do we give up anarthas? Not by meditating on them. We can become aware, it may be useful to some degree to become aware of the various types of anarthas that we're dealing with, to try maybe some of those really major ones that really are creating blocks. But the method of getting rid of anarthas is by bhajan and kriya. I mean, hearing, chanting. And the association of advanced devotees who are affectionate and situated in a similar spirit, which we hope to have one day. This verse is given. Rupa Goswami. That's our process. Associate with devotees, sadhu sangha, and engage in bhakti. If you engage in bhakti without sadhu sangha, the effect is less and slower, usually because of offenses. But you engage with devotees, bhakti, then anarthas gradually go away. They don't go away by meditating on anarthas. They go away by meditating on Krishna, thinking of Krishna. Any other question, comment, concern? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhupada, I remember him talking about sense gratification and extended sense gratification. The example given was this man who came to see Srila Prabhupada, and he was, Prabhupada was talking about this subject, and the man said, I'm working for my, extended family. And Prabhupada says, "So what family is that?" And he says, "Well, the ones that aren't even born yet." So he's working so hard to save money for his extended family that isn't even born yet. And Prabhupada called this is the extreme case of extended sense gratification. Have you ever heard that story?
Yeah, I have.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I had one question, but also one follow-up to Himanshu's question and your discussion. When you mention the role of association with like-minded and persons who are like-minded and affectionate, I mean, obviously we understand it's kind of a subtle thing what it is to associate, because there are so many devotees who had personal, physical association with Prabhupada, but ended up not really getting much of substance. And then the contrary example of devotees who didn't have that, but were able to get a lot of substantial benefit from Prabhupada's association with the lack of the physical aspect. So what would you say is like the essential component of associating with a devotee in the context you just mentioned, the like-minded, the affectionate, with the hope of fully getting out of this anartha mess?
Well, in light of that, although those devotees who gained a lot from Prabhupada, even without having this association, I don't think we can say it is a fact that Prabhupada was their only association. And therefore, I don't think we can argue that just by that alone, they were actually able to avail themselves the way they did to even that what they got from Srila Prabhupada. Most likely is the case that they benefited from other devotees around them who allowed them to deeply accept that which they were also getting from Srila Prabhupada. And so the statement still stands that there were devotees who were probably more advanced in them or more experienced in Krishna consciousness, who were affectionate toward them, who were situated in a similar disposition, at least a disposition of wanting to serve Srila Prabhupada. And in that way, that statement still stands.
My intention wasn't to challenge the statement.
Yeah,
I was wondering
stands.
what is the essence, what does it mean when you say association? What does that entail?
Well, and Lord, Srila Prabhupada says also, and as well as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that to associate purely means the 6 loving exchanges amongst devotees as outlined by Srila Rupa Goswami, of which, out of the 6, the middle pair, Guhyam Makyati Prichati, is the most important. Guhyam Makyati Prichati means that Prabhupada's way of describing it in the purport and nectar instruction is that a more experienced devotee speaks and a less experienced devotee hears. This is called Guhyam Akyati Prichati. So Guhyam Akyati means that a more advanced devotee, experienced devotee, he shares his realizations on Krishna consciousness, essentially, tattva. And a less experienced devotee inquires about that from such a devotee. This is Guhyam Akyati Prichati. So what you see in the Srimad Bhagvatam, for example, is this expression of loving exchange. Some more advanced devotee, or even if you say, well, they're all Mahabhagatas, but one of them is taking the position of revealing his realizations, the others is inquiring from him. And even though arguably they're all on the same platform, Parashit Maharaj was as advanced as Shukadeva Goswami, or Prithu Maharaj was as advanced as the Kumaras, but they all take the position of inquiring, what is your realization on this issue? And someone is speaking, this is called Guhyam Akyati Prichati. So Srila Prabhupada, as well as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, cite this verse of Srila Rupa Goswami as the verse for associating with devotees. This is what it means to associate with devotees. So Prabhupada is also told that this movement was created to give people an opportunity to hear. And its commentary to that verse, that the ISKCON movement was created to give people an opportunity to hear. Hear what? Hear Krishna consciousness, obviously. Not hear about the eating, sleeping, mating, defending that we were doing now and before, but hear about Krishna and our realizations on Krishna consciousness, our understanding of whatever it is that we're learning. This is what the movement is meant for. Like that, it's called Sadhu Sangha.
Thank you. I was also wondering about envy. We're talking about like the opposite, compassion, being able to even sacrifice one's own body for the welfare of others. Are you familiar with like at what point in the development of our Krishna consciousness one would become free from envy?
I mean, I don't know a very specific place where that's mentioned, but exactly in that language at least. But essentially, at the stage of Nishta, one is self-realized. He realizes the difference between matter and spirit. Brahmabhuta platform. So someone is, and Nishta is not a joke. Although we like, oh, Nishta steadiness. Steadiness is not just in terms of like our actions, our behavior. I show up for everything or something like that. But it's also in terms of our absorption. In fact, the stage of Nishta is referred to by Rupa Goswami as sadhana abhinivesh, absorption in sadhana, where the mind is completely absorbed in the activities of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, etc. That's the stage of Nishta, and that ability to be absorbed in that way is situated on the ground of the realization between matter and spirit. That's I was just reading it this morning. In fact, the ground for which that sort of absorption can take place is one has to realize the difference between matter and spirit. Because if one doesn't have that realization, then the world of matter is ever so attractive and alluring and distracting. So you need that basic ground of realization just to have that level of absorption in Krishna. So not that I heard it specifically expressed in this way, but such level of absorption doesn't seem to leave much room for envious action. Although I can see someone, arguably saying that until you've attained bhava, there may still be some contamination of envy towards Krishna and so on, which is undoubtedly true. Even that can be true in the stage of Nishta. But in terms of it really manifesting itself at the stage of Nishta, it should be pretty much controlled because of the realization between matter and spirit. That's my answer to that. I don't know if I can do better than that. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes.
Yeah, just on this point about using our bodies for showing compassion to others. And I was just thinking about, I was sharing with you, I heard this thing from Mahendra Prabhu about the importance of, but I was also thinking about it on my own, because, Krishna says in the 18th chapter of Gita that only by bhakti can one know him. So I was thinking for myself, because most of, at least my, you call, say, outreach in colleges is focused on helping people see the difference between like body and spirit. That's something that most students can understand and appreciate as a discussion. But that's really not going to get them Krishna. It's not really compassion in one sense, because to actually show compassion is to help someone come in contact with Krishna, and Krishna can only be understood by bhakti. So you really have to bring people to the platform performing devotional service.
I would say for a devotee, and we're aspiring devotees, naturally anything less than Krishna is it's like, although it is actually commendable if someone can actually appreciate that they're different from matter. And if you can help someone appreciate that, that would be a really high level of expression of compassion. Because, compassion generally, the idea that it's usually conveyed, you want to free, you see that others are suffering, and your heart is moved because of that vision of seeing the person suffer. It's described like this in the Bhakti Sandarbha. So one's heart is moved because of seeing the plight of other living entities. So that plight is created by their identification with matter. So if one could help a living entity realize his difference from matter, by which that will be the end of all their suffering, the suffering created by the kleshas, then that's a pretty good start. I mean, I don't think it could be said that it's not compassionate. In fact, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 12, when speaking of the Brahman realized person, says that he shows compassion towards all living entities in his description of their realization. So to me, that seems like the only way it could really be expressed is by helping persons realize their difference from matter. So that's a good start. But because we're aspiring devotees, naturally anything short of the mark of Krishna is more or less unattractive and like basically mundane. Even though, and we say like that also, the Narada Muni says like that. What is that verse? Achuta Bhava. What is it? Nishkama. How does the verse start? Anyone? How does it start? Yeah, it's 1:5:12. Nashopate Gyanam Naranjana. How does it start? Naishkarmya Achuta. Yeah, Naishkarmya Api Achuta Bhava Varjitam. Nashopate Gyanam Anam Naranjana. So he says that self-realization, which is Naishkarmya, is free from any material motivation, but is devoid of Achuta Bhava. No Bhava for Lord Achuta. Not Shobate, it is not very beautiful. That means it's ugly, in other words. This is a point. It's ugly. Not Shobate Ganam Naranjanam. Naranjanam means devoid of any material taints. So even if that knowledge is devoid of that, without Achuta Bhava, it's not very beautiful. Because we're aspiring devotees, we think like that. So it's like someone's helping someone genuinely get on the platform of Sat by realizing the difference from material body. That is really compassion. That's definitely an expression of compassion. It's genuine also. But because we're aspiring devotees, we're like, we might not disparage it, at least in a public arena, like that guy's a nonsense, But in our small circles, we probably will. Because we're devotees, and anything short of giving people Krishna consciousness is kind of like, it was like, what's your problem? You don't like Krishna? Something's wrong with Krishna? And so that's kind of natural for us, and we're in a line that's that's trying to engender in our heart that level of dedication to Krishna, especially a particular form of Krishna, and so on. And therefore, it is natural that we kind of feel like if we don't give people bhakti, then we kind of miss the mark. We feel a little bit dissatisfied in heart. But I'm kind of broadening and saying that it's a good start because, to be honest, as I was just mentioning in my discussion over here, that the ground of absorption in Krishna is the self-realized platform, difference between matter and spirit. So if that isn't there, then A, people cannot be absorbed in Krishna. B, whatever so-called absorption they have in Krishna will be falsely understood. Like a lot of, in some places in our movement, they have, like, for example, deities of Radha and Krishna. And people come and do kirtan and like, yay, Jaya, Radha and Krishna. And they pure sense enjoyers. They don't know anything about Krishna consciousness, They know some niceties, some more or less some altruistic understanding that they already had before they came to Krishna consciousness. And they're just imposing that understanding onto Krishna consciousness and thinking the two are tantamount to each other. And so they chant the glories of Radha and Krishna. And in one sense, we may say it's beneficial because it's a form of namabhas. But in another way, it won't help them at all because it's so misconceived because of the lack of grounding that I'm different from matter, that basic understanding. So I would say in terms of I was trying to express compassion towards others, it's definitely a good start at least if they can really come to appreciate the point that they're different from matter, and that will. What's concomitant with that understanding is a change of activity, a change of behavior. They stop going to the bars. They stop, watching television, wasting all their time on Facebook and YouTube. That's what comes with that appreciation. And that gives them a firm grounding for switching it to something transphenomenal like Krishna. And so, I would say it's a good start because how many of us are able to even do that for people? And then we give them, again, we can just give them Krishna as well, which is still our strategy in Krishna consciousness. But we give them Krishna while explaining to them Bhagavad Gita, which begins with this discussion. Krishna doesn't open up with chapter 7 or chapter 18, surrender unto me. He could have. With Arjuna, he could have did that, and Arjuna would have said, all right, cool. But with us, he preempts his whole discussion about himself, but a discussion of the difference between matter and spirit, and then how to realize that Nishkama Karma Yoga develops Gyan, and that's he preempts or precludes his whole discussion of himself with this discussion. So that might be a fair strategy one would take also with dealing with other conditioned souls in Kali Yuga. Of course, in the meantime, we give them Harinam simultaneously without going into the details of the glories of Harinam because that might be considered an offense. Just let them chant Hare Krishna. And that way, as they're cultivating their understanding of the difference between matter and spirit, it's in the context of the holy name as well. They'll understand the holy name to be something spiritual, something that can gain them spiritual. And as their hearts are purified by both Harinam and the association of the devotee who is speaking to them about the difference between matter and spirit, then they can come to realize and appreciate Krishna like that progressively. Now, depending on our Shakti, it can go faster or slower. But anyway, the reason I'm saying like that, I don't want to just dismiss that, let's say, expression of kindness towards the jivas, giving them that understanding. Although as aspiring devotees, we would personally feel that it misses the mark unless they get Krishna. What a loss. Just like when we hear about Dhritarashtra in chapter 13. Finally, at the end, he's able to hear Vidura, and he goes out to the forest and gets liberation. Because of his offenses to the Pandavas, he can't get bhakti. So Prabhupada writes, and we feel also that, oh, how disappointing. Even though he got the association of Vidura, he couldn't finally get the real thing because of his offenses. So we feel like that naturally. Although at the same time, he got liberation. So it's like, yeah, he got liberation, all right. Commendable, I guess. With no real appreciation. You understand what I'm saying? A devotee's heart can be fixed on one point and at the same time accommodating. And like I said, in a broader arena, we may not disparage it so much, but in our smaller circles, we probably will. And that's natural because of our dedication to Krishna. Yeah.
Himanshu likes cooking. Himanshu likes cooking. So to bake a bread, you have to preheat the oven first. So it's like that. You have to set the ground up before you can. If you just put the dough right in, it's going to burn. May
nice
not
image.
happen.
That's a nice image. Yeah, sometimes in devotees in our immaturity, we get a new person that somehow or other feels inclined to hear us. And then we feel like this is my chance. I don't know when I'll get another chance like this. And we want to download the whole Gaudiya Siddhanta on them in one sitting. And then somehow or other, they tolerate and they don't go away. But after that, they don't want to have anything to do with a devotee again because they think, again, that's these devotees catch me, 5 hours gone. So I better keep away, better stay away. So anyway. Obviously, an advanced devotee is referred to as Daksha. He's expert, so he knows what to do. He knows how to give Krishna consciousness and what way he needs to interject it. There can be no formula for it, finally. In the final issue, there is no formula. And so some devotees will, say this one is better than that one. And finally, it's like, are they becoming Krishna conscious or not? And, and what difference does it make then? So there's finally, a devotee is really expert. It's usually those who lack such expertise who attach themselves to a particular expression of compassion and start disparaging all other forms, even without themselves being able to evince any evidence of the effectiveness of their own particular process of or expression of compassion. Like that. Anyway, so I think we're going to stop there. That's supposed to be the Brahmachari meeting after the class. Tat Sat, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya.